Hello, my name is Raven. I'm 19 years old from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm transgender and my preferred pronoun is female. I grew up in a stressful household. Everything was very strict. There were rules to follow, and if you don't go by them, there was consequences. Can't remember what age below of 8, but what I do know is first when I started finding out who I am and that I'm transgender is when I started putting on my sister's clothing and started wanting everything that she had. Also, after that we moved around about 12 and ended up about 16 times I've moved around. I've gone through 5 or 6 schools. I've gotten into many fights, but who I am today has changed a lot. What I went through is mostly about my stepfather. He was the one to control me. My mother basically told him to handle me as she handles my sisters. There was a lot of jealousy between me and my sisters. I showed a lot of hate towards my sister, which I shouldn't have. I showed hate towards her because of the fact that she had the life that I could never have. David raised me like a military freak, pretty much. He would have me build obstacle courses. Also, he raised me up as a farm boy. We had 10 cows and I had to wash them, clean them, which is something I did not enjoy doing. I had to mow 3 or 4 acres of grass. I had to do every boy thing there was that my sister had never had to do. She didn't even have to wash dishes. Why he wanted me to do all that, I guess, was basically to be something like him, like how he was. I guess it might have also been something that happened in his life that he wanted me to go through. He wanted me to basically become more than what he was. He wanted me to be better than the Navy SEALs. He wanted me to do more than the Army. So he trained me. He trained me to create things, put together guns, hide easily. I had missions to go on. He told me that either in the future that I'd be CIA and they would fake my death and I would have a secret cabin and I would meet out with him. And he would teach me how to fight, do martial arts, as he did. He would teach me how to build my own obstacle course, how to take apart a car engine, put it back together, that way I could able to move, how to build certain weapons, how to create things from nothing, how to maintain myself in the wilderness without starving or freezing or getting dehydrated. Also, he had me put together outfits and costumes to act like I can disguise myself from dogs. I can get away if I'm spotted, that I can disappear in the blink of an eye. How would I have to disappear through the woods with my own dogs chasing me, not knowing who I was, thinking I was a trespasser because of how we trained them? Was I had 2 Great Danes that were maybe 1 or 2 years old that stood up 7 foot tall, and a Great English Mastiff, which is a big, scary dog. Having to let them chase me with the size of their arms going full blast, I would have to run non-stop into a spot, and I already have to have planned in how to get out of that situation. I would have to either tackle up trees and then either jump from another tree to that tree, that way they don't know that which tree I'm already in. Then I have to maintain stillness without even practically breathing, otherwise they would hear it, they would know it, and I would have to sit there and wait until they go away. growing up with my parents should be more rephrased of growing them up. Basically having the weight of their world on top of mine. My father, David, he has left about 33 or 34 times. The stress that he put onto my mom is the stress that I had to pick up on. I had to be the shoulder for her to cry on. I had to be there every step of the way, knowing that I could have been somewhere else. I could have been living with my other father, Chris, living it up, but hiding who I was as well. But living comfortable enough to have whatever I want, maybe, if I wanted a car, I'd probably get it, basically being rich, or either staying with my mom and being poor, living in a 80-foot single-wide trailer, with a prison cell room. I made that choice to stay because of the fact that I love my mother and I could never leave her, especially with the problems that went on. Even though I had problems of my own and I couldn't explain to her, I still stuck around. Some of the problems with them finding out of my self-mutilation caused more stress with my father leaving, basically putting it to the point of either I go or he goes. And of course, my mother loves me unconditionally and she chose me. But hearing the words that you cost my marriage, and other thing that she said, put more stress on me than it ever has, knowing that I just wrecked her life, and just the things that she has said that didn't really mean, I know she didn't really mean, but just the moments that she said it, either caused thoughts of running away, or just giving up, it put a lot of depression and stress on me, even though she probably didn't see that. Because the character that David built on me was supposed to look strong, nothing could take me down. But seeing that, if I would have told them the truth of why I did it, they would have either said, well, you need to go to a mental ward, or I need to lock the doors now because now we think you're crazy, when that's just making more stress onto me. And recommending a therapist, which I got for one time, and when I finally told my mother that I'm opening up now to him, and I told him that I self-mutilate, and she said, well, you're not going anymore. She thought it was just for attention, and that I'm just going to go get locked up and ruin my life, when I was finally starting to open up and let out things that were harming me, But I had to basically raise my parents, I had to raise my sisters, and I still help them with their problems. I've had my father beg to me to get my mother to come back because he loves her. I've had my mother beg and try to ask me what to do, what do you think's going to happen, and hearing all of that, and I can't say I don't know because I need to answer the question for her to make her feel better. I could have had a better life. I could have lived somewhere else. Could I tell her that now? Yeah, I could tell her, and it probably hurt her feelings. But what I will tell her is that I would gladly do it all over again because I love my mother unconditionally, and I'll always be there to support her and my father. Schooling experience was very stressful growing up. When I finally first started school, it was a new world basically to me, meaning that I could have a social life now, which my father didn't care or really approve of. Also, once I got into school, I started meeting friends and getting mixed into the wrong crowds, but the crowds that I got into, they understood me in a way. They didn't really judge, but they didn't really know me. If they fully known me, they might have judged on it. But also the fact of having a social life, not at home, but having it in school was so amazing that I didn't care for my grades. My grades started slipping, I'd get in more trouble at home, I didn't even care. I let them slip. Having those free moments of communicating to people, and then having that taken away by being grounded caused a lot more stress, which led me to drug use. I got mixed in with heavier crowds and did a lot of worse things. And also, having known people in school led to relationships that also have caused stress and self-mutilation. You know, having such moments where you hit rock bottom, either craving for a drug or craving for self-mutilation. Most of the time you can't afford the things you want, so it only leaves one option. My relationships were with many different types of people. Some controlling, some very jealousy, but also having to deal with their problems and also mine, and also hiding the fact of, I'm not this person you're dating, I'm someone else, and not being able to tell them that because of the fact you feel you're in love and you don't want that to go away. I felt I didn't want that to go away because I never really had love. I never really told my sister that I loved her. You know, the relationships with my mom and my father, I didn't want to tell them I loved them because I felt it was a sign of weakness. You know, and if I showed weakness, it might show who I really am. But relationships that I did go through were very rock bottom with a lot of them, and that caused a lot of self-mutilation. And the fact of there's a lot of people out there that are really controlling and will bring you straight down if you're not able to pick yourself back up. With all the time I've spent with dating people, worrying about them, I should have spent all that time worrying about me, being who I should be, not hiding who I really want to be. I should have brought that to the surface, and maybe I would not have done so many things that I did. Also with relationships, the fact of thinking that this could be the one, thinking ahead of time, planning, okay, I can do this, I can just, basically kill myself on the inside to be who they want me to be on the outside. Coming out to them was not something I planned to do at all. It actually happened because of the last relationship I was in. I went through some problems and I finally felt the need to come out to the person I was dating. And when I did tell her, she flipped out about it, started crying, and then told her parents. Upon telling her parents, I figured that her mom is gonna threaten me or tell my mom to keep your child away from my daughter, and I figured I'd rather my mom hear it from me first than from someone else. And thankfully I was at the age of 18, because the fact if I got kicked out at a young age, I wouldn't know what to do. I was more of already knowing how life works. But thankfully I never did. But when coming out to my mom and I told her, the first things they always think is, are you sure you're not gay? Are you straight, you're wanting to be a woman and you're wanting men, that makes you straight? It was very confusing for her to understand, and still is confusing, but it's a sudden shock, especially with hiding it for so long and not showing any signs of weakness or showing anything of who I am. Basically telling her that my whole life was a lie. It's a lot to explain, and trying to do that sometimes is not easy at all because they want to know so much and they don't believe it. Telling my mother was a lot easier, and worrying about telling my father was a lot harder. When I first told him, which my mother explained to him, he just shrugged it off and said it's just something stupid kids are doing or something. He just figured it was a phase or something for a laugh. But later on that day, we went out to eat, and I went out how I wanted to look, dressed how I wanted to dress. And he noticed that I was wearing different clothing, and he told me to change. He wasn't approving of that. He wanted me to still be who he wanted me to be. You know, he didn't want me to be a girl. He wanted me to be his son. You know, he figured that I was becoming a mistake, that I'm just going to get in more trouble, that, you know, this is just going to lead to no jobs, no life, and telling me that I'm going to join the freak show after the circus because that's the only job I'm going to have. Hearing that made a lot more stressful and causing my parents to fight, or either him blaming my mother for how I am, thinking that it's her fault when it's not. It wasn't either one's fault. This is how I feel. This is my life that I'm trying to have. Coming out to them, I would have not have done if it wasn't for my relationships. I would have kept it hidden, and then maybe one day I would have showed up and be like, hi, this is me. But am I glad that I come out? Yes, because now he is less judgmental on it, and he's more understanding now than he was before. If I would have told him around my teenage years, then I would have probably went through a lot of more suicidal attempts. I couldn't tell you where I would be now if I wasn't going through all the things I am now and what I did. Upon all that, leaving was something I really wanted to do after telling my parents. I didn't feel comfortable at home anymore. I felt like a ghost. Even when you have unconditional love from your mother or a parent or whatever you're living with, there's still that feeling like how it is at my house is my mother does not want me to change. She wants me to be her son. She wants that forever. She wants me to have kids, and she wants me to live the life she wants me to live, which I don't want. You know, I want to be able to be free and express myself and not have to worry, you know, is my mother going to look at me funny? Or I don't want to have to worry about that. So leaving home was something I needed to do. I felt weak at home. I had no one to turn to, no one that was the same. So I would look for friends, which computers nowadays are a major help. I would build up good character friends that understood, and I would go spend the night at their house or ask to move in. You know, I began my life. You know, I slowly worked for the goals that I wanted, to getting on hormones, becoming the woman that I want to be. You know, finding out my life goals of, you know, all the things I can do now. You know, you feel a sudden burst of freeness, and once they know, you feel even freer. Even though if they don't agree, you feel more open now, that all that stress of years, all that just off your chest, it feels gone. So finally have moved on. I feel great now. I live out in a place where people accept me, and I have roommates that are the same, so I can help them and they can help me. How I would define gender? Gender shouldn't be based on how your skin is made or the parts that it shapes. It should be based on the fact of how you present yourself. Like if you want to be in a suit, you don't present yourself as some bum in a suit, because that's not how you're going to be. You're going to be a man in a suit. If you want to present yourself as a cook, then you're going to look like a cook. If you want to present yourself as female, you're going to look female, and male. But getting called ma'am, which is how you want to be treated, and then when they see your name, they judge your gender because they see your name is male and they start saying sir. But gender should not be judged and it shouldn't be marked. It should actually be something no one really should know anymore, because people just judge on that way too much. So if gender were just to completely disappear, even the word, then I think there would be less hate. And more people would just be like, oh, that girl over there, instead of, oh, that wannabe guy or wannabe girl, pretty much. Beauty to me is from within the mind and the heart, not the body. Beauty is all the feelings that I get from someone from the inside. Someone I can relate to, that is beautiful to me. Art, it's not about what's drawn, it's about what speaks to you, how you feel about it. That's the beauty of it. That's what I define beauty. How I would define love is to be treated unconditionally. Love me no matter what. Love me, if I want to be gender neutral, or whoever I want to be, what I want to be in life, what job I want to have. To love me no matter what. Unconditional love is the only love there is. Otherwise, every other love could be puppy love, hate love. There's too much to love, but unconditional is the most important thing, because unconditional doesn't judge. It doesn't look at who you're going to be in 10 years. It's just, I love you no matter what. How I would define a person is not only how they present themselves, but how their characteristics are. Defining whether I should be around this person because of the things they do, or if this person will actually be an amazing person to be around. Not looking at the negatives or even helping that person is also how I define someone. I don't judge on race, height, short. Nothing means to me that way, but if you want to be defined how you are, then present yourself to the fullest. Open up to me and show me who you really are, and I'll define you that way. What makes me a woman, besides the shopping, is how I feel. Finally turning what's on the inside to the outside, expressing how my inside should feel, but actually on the outside. But what makes me a woman, besides what I do, how I dress, is how I want to picture living the rest of my life. Either having a kid, because now it's possible, to have your own child, to be a mother, to raise my child, to love me and love them unconditionally, to be there for them no matter what, is all the woman things I could ever imagine, is filled with love. A soft heart is what turns me to be a woman. I love to love, and I love my heart being soft, and that's who I am. The goals I have for becoming a woman has now actually changed to more goals. Besides having my own home, would be getting my surgery, staying on my hormones. Those are the two main goals, but another life goal that would be life-changing, and the thing I want the most, would be getting organ surgery and a uterus and all the things that I need to be able to have a child. Now that it's been proven and it's successfully being done. Those are the life goals I'm having. How I will achieve those goals would be working myself till I sweat or bleed, and making sure that, keeping my head up high, having a positive attitude, because I know it will happen and I won't stop until it does. Those are my goals towards that. How hormones have affected me has been a magnificent, the best thing of my life, actually. When you first take hormones, you'll know within 24 hours, maybe a little longer, but you know 100% on who you are. It's suddenly like a cloud has disappeared in your mind, that you feel more freer now. You're not waking up hating, oh, I'm still stuck in this body. You're waking up and you're not even thinking of that. You're thinking of, I feel like I'm supposed to feel. You don't even think of, oh, I'm different now. It's just, taking those hormones are the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm not sure how it works with others, but also just watch out for the fact that it could do damage to you, so be careful about it. Advice I would give to them. Thinking that you are transgender, I know you gotta be very confused, because I was very confused. No one can say I'm transgender from birth. They grow up confused until they find out about transgender existing, or they hear it from others that you could be the opposite gender or even gender neutral. There's a number of things out there that you can do that can be much better than taking stress out on yourself or beating yourself up about these problems. Going to drugs and self-mutilation is never the answer. It only makes it worse. It didn't make me who I am. It took me to make me who I am. Creating life goals is a good start, and saving up. Even if you have a job or don't have a job and there's still stress and you can't have friends or some reason like that, then go on the computer and it's always on YouTube. That has helped me a lot. Now, when I had no friends around or no friends to turn to, I went on the computer and I Googled transgender, or male to female, female to male, and it will always be there. This video will always be there to help. Also, things I would recommend to do besides going on YouTube is to meditate, to concentrate on your inner self and not your outer self. Don't look at the outside of who you are now and start freaking out about it, because the inside will soon come out. It's only a matter of time before you actually get there. That's all it ever is, a matter of time. Even when you think, oh, I never will get there, a lot of people think that. I thought that, and I'm finally here, and I can say that I'm happy now. But also watch out for relationships. Putting your heart out there is very hard to do, because there's already enough stress on you with just yourself. I know loving yourself the way you are and how you look isn't something that I even liked, but it is hard, but you gotta push through it. But watch your heart, definitely, mostly. Now I tell people, don't go with your heart, go with your gut, because your gut will sense before your heart does. Your heart just wants one main thing in love, and it can always find that, but your gut will tell you if this person's right or if this person's wrong. Don't just go full blasting and doing whatever that person wants you to do. Have second thoughts, think it through. Don't just jump up into relationship after relationship hoping the next one's going to be the one, or the next one's going to pick up the pieces, because that's for you to pick up. You have to repair yourself. So let your gut do the thinking. Coming out to your parents, most people would say to wait till you're 18, but that can build up a lot of stress and a lot of problems. It depends on how your household is. If you're raised in a strict household, and basically how I was, then I would wait. I'd suggest you wait till you're 18 and have some friends. That way, if stuff goes downhill, you have your friends, and those are really important. But if your household seems like a loving family and not too religious, because that could be a problem, I would say to come out and tell them, to let it off your chest, because it does help a lot. Or if you have a really close friend, to tell them, just to let it all out to them, because it will help. Or just let it all out to imagination. I even built up my own imagination character, whether in game or in my mind. I created who I want to be, and that's my suggestions for you. Advice I would give to family and friends would be to not judge at all. There's so many videos and so many support things you can watch to understand. Don't do like my mother did, jump into straight surgery and watch that as the first thing, because that might be really weird for you. But there is this video and other videos you could watch. Also, what I would recommend is to not just go out and buy what you think your child would want. To ask them, what makes them happy, not just what makes you happy, because you had that kid so you can give it whatever you want. Not just build boundaries around it. Understand them, get to know them, see that they're happy with this, they're loving their life because they're finally living how they want to live, and throwing them down and rejecting them will harm them a lot, because they're raised around you and they love you, and taking that love away, as hard it is to find that with other people nowadays, losing the love from family is really hard. What I would suggest is you sit down, you have a talk, you be open with them, and you suggest suggestions. If they think they're transgender, then let's go to the library, let's study this, let's look it up, make sure they're sure and they're happy with who they are, and if they are happy, then help them with that. They're not looking for toys anymore, they're looking to live and be happy with their life. I wouldn't gender base them. If they want to be a male, then help them become a male. You're not losing a child. If you're not losing a son, you're gaining a daughter. You're not losing a daughter, you're gaining a son. They're not going to die, they're not disappearing, they're just expressing themselves, and they're entering a new world of how they really want to live. And stripping that from them could cause a lot of damage and a lot of stress for almost the rest of their life. You need to be there for your child, you need to love them and be strong for them when they're weak. Otherwise, who else could they have to turn to? The world isn't exactly round anymore. It's violent, and it's a pretty harsh world out there. A lot of people judge and a lot of people hate. So support from the family is really, the best thing to do. So I would recommend that you listen. People that went through Columbine, the reason why they did is because no one listened. And I would suggest you listen to your child, because their life could depend on it. My life did, but just make their life worth living. Treat them to the fullest, and they will do the same back to you. Have respect for one another. They're not 2 years old anymore. They know who they are and they want you in their life. So just help them with that.